Hi, and welcome to this session in my Lunch Unlearn Livestream event series. And my name is Katie Caruan, and I have a few housekeeping items before we get started into the details of today's topic, which is unlearning the discomfort of saying no. So before we get started, I just want to make sure that you are in a position where you can participate if you're joining live. So check your audio to make sure that you can listen in, and also you are very much welcome with your comments and any questions you might have. Just post them, whether you are joining via LinkedIn, via Facebook, or YouTube. And if you're taking part of this recording in later on, you are welcome to add comments as well, and I will do my best to respond as quickly as I can. With that, a very special welcome for today's topic, which is something that I've been struggling with a lot in my professional life. And I guess I'm not alone in that space. So just to set the scene for this topic, if you haven't tapped into this Lunch and Unlearn session before, I would urge you to actually just tap into the recordings and learn from the previous topics as well. They're only 15 minutes long. And a reminder, this is not about forgetting anything that we have done in the past. Unlearning is simply choosing an alternative mental model that will serve us better with a new type of behavior. And I want to welcome you. If you haven't been able to tune in your audio yet, please check your audio settings. I know that could be something that you need to do manually when joining. And here we are. Welcome. I can see some people are joining via LinkedIn. And feel free, as I mentioned in the beginning, to add your comments or questions as we go along. So choosing other mental models is obviously something that takes some focus. And my ambition is to inspire you to start questioning maybe some of the habits that you consistently show up with that might not be serving you as much as they have been in the past. So why is this important? Well, either you are looking for a new job, or you are building your own business, or you just want to be more successful where you are. It's about unlearning certain truths about these scenarios. And I have the opportunity to meet professionals every week who are in either of these positions. And I can see that among the things that they find difficult is actually to say no. It could be saying no to helping out other people. It could be saying no to certain opportunities that are provided for them. It could be saying no to taking on new responsibilities or doing other things that they haven't done in the past. And what we typically do, unless we consciously choose, of course, another mental model, is that we default into our automatic behavior. So with that said, let's move on here and let's understand why this is so difficult to many of us. If you are like me, you want to be liked, you might be a pleaser. It has been an important value of yours to be seen as somebody who is helping out and who's willing to support other people. This is a very common trap to fall into, and we have a lot of difficulties in actually sharing our own priorities. And maybe there's an aspect of guilt as well added into this scenario, because we might feel that we owe somebody something from the past. What will they think about us if we say no? What are the consequences of that? Why does it make me icky to say no? What is it that I'm afraid of? Maybe it's about the consequences, or maybe it's about the perception, how I'm being perceived by the other. And another thing that might come into play here as well is that it might be flattering if people ask for something from you. It might be difficult to say no because we are, influenced by our ego. We are affected by certain people and by certain opportunities, and we might be flattered in a way that makes it more difficult to say no. So that's just a few things about why this becomes difficult. So it's quite natural. And the next thing here about cracking the code is obviously to have a look at how can we change the perspective? Which type of mental model can we choose instead in order to address this? And of course, one of the classic coaching questions is, what is the worst thing that can happen, right? Okay, so people can be surprised because I typically say yes, right? They can think that maybe I'm less a good person, or maybe they will associate with me with things that I don't like to be associated with. So, of course, it's my own values affecting me and my behavior here. And when I say yes instead of saying no, but also what I believe other people have in terms of perceptions and associations to me and my contribution or my participation. So if we switch perspective here and look upon what is it that happens to me when somebody says no to me, how do I react to that? And it's always good to shift perspectives because it helps you understand a little bit more about yourself as well, because very often we have different findings when we do that. And maybe there's something here about me actually looking into what did they really say? How did they say it? Maybe I even respect them more when they're very clear in their no. So maybe it can be really helpful to other people if I become clear in actually saying no. Maybe we appreciate a very clear and honest answer quickly so we can be allowed to move on. All right, so I'm just checking here if there are any comments yet. Nothing yet. So feel free to add any things you have, because we are moving into the practical part of this short live stream today, which is about practicing, because every time we look to change a behavior, we need to practice. And we can think about different ways of doing this, but I have a favorite way of doing it, and this is about actually having prepared, and I have a list here in front of me actually, 7 different ways of saying no, and I have prioritized them. So I will start with the way that I feel least uncomfortable with, and then I will add another 6, whereas the last will be the one that I find the most difficult version to use. And maybe my exposure kind of stairway here is different to yours. But think about it. If there's something that you do naturally today that I'm mentioning right now, then you're on a good way. Maybe there are some strategies here that you can pick up and start practicing yourself. And before I move on to that specific topic, and I would like to highlight one of the comments here. Natara is saying that she loves that I mentioned both perspectives of saying and hearing no. Exactly. So this is the way, as coaches, that we work on helping other people, our coaches, to really shift perspective and put themselves in somebody else's shoe, because that will tell us a lot about ourselves as well. And this is ongoing. So as a coach, I need to do this myself, because I bring all these values, all these behaviors from early ages with me throughout my life. And until I just make a firm, conscious decision to change them, they probably won't. So thank you for that comment, Tara. And I would love to move on to this list of 7 exposures that I use in becoming better at saying no. And believe me, this is not easy to me. So I'm sharing this in order of, I would say, discomfort. So, of course, we can always use delay tactics. So we can say, let me think about it, or sleep on it, or let me come back to you by end of the week, or whatever. But that is not really saying no. That is just delaying the pain. So now I'm going to share with you how you can become much quicker in saying no. And the first option is actually to say something along the lines of, I have a conflicting initiative. Basically, I'm too busy. I have a conflicting initiative. The second one, which is slightly less discomforting to me, is, well, I'm not planning on doing this. I would be somehow, I would say, careful about this because it would imply that I don't see the importance to somebody else's initiative. So that is slightly more difficult for me to use that strategy. Even more difficult is the third one, which is, I have no intention of doing this. That is really a bombastic statement to me. But it's only the number 3 out of 7, so just wait, there will be more. And number 4 would be slightly more than discomforting, which is, this is not included as part of my priorities. I.e., if I put myself in my shoes, I would say, okay, so now I'm telling this other person that this is not important to me. I don't see it as important as you do. Moving on to number 5. I'm not available for this. Okay, so again, discomfort because obviously I will not prioritize the time being used here. I don't see the value. Number 6, getting towards the end here, slightly worse. This is not interesting to me. Okay, so what does that say about me and my relationship with that other person? So that is the 6 first ways you can become better and quicker at saying no, but due to your experience, it might bring some discomfort to your situation. And then the final one, the very, very final one that I don't think I've ever done yet. I haven't come so far in my own exposure. Maybe you have, and congratulations if you have, but I'm really struggling in doing this. I intend to become better at this. And the 7th way of actually saying no is saying exactly that. No. Without any clarification or explanation or dwelling around the topic. Simply no. Okay. So that was my list. Maybe you have a different list. Maybe there are some of them that I mentioned that are not challenging to you. So a big congratulations to you. I will have to practice more about this, and especially in the when it comes to the last 3 options that I mentioned. So that will be, I'm not available for this. This is not interesting to me, and simply saying no. Okay, so let me see in the comments here if you have any reactions or any other alternatives that might be helpful to other people as well. Feel free to share them here in the comments field. I usually share a few examples from my business in terms of the topic that I've chosen. And for today, on a personal note, I feel it's really difficult to say no to people where I feel that I owe them something. If I feel that there's an imbalance in what they have done for me and what I do for them, then I'm very likely to say yes, even though I can feel it quickly that I should have said no. And on a professional level, I talked about previously the risk of being flattered if somebody asks you. And I've been sometimes approached for maybe a job or maybe an assignment that I really liked the way that I was approached, and I found out, wow, that's amazing that they consider me for that. But deep inside, I had this inkling very quickly that I shouldn't take this on. I have a difficult time in doing that quickly. So that's something that I can mention that is coming to mind when I look at my examples from my professional world. Let me see here. There are some comments here. So Atara is saying, except that saying no isn't so simple. Yes. And I guess, Atara, that you are referring to the last my strategies there, just saying no without any explanations at all. If I did that, people who know me would be very surprised. So also, again, it's a way of actually disciplining and setting the scene and correcting that expectation around you. But why is it that we feel that we have to give a justification? And sometimes it makes sense, right? We would love to give a justification, and we would love to preserve our relationship somehow. But maybe the fairest thing somehow is to say no. And why do we often feel that we need to give that kind of add-on justification for saying no? And also, Tara's mentioned here, so she says instead of saying no, she says I can or I can't, or I can do this, but I can't do that, which is kind of negotiations, right? So you are giving something and you are holding something back, which is, I guess, a nice approach. It's a nice strategy. However, if it's still boggling you and you get this, realization that this is something that I should not be involved in, um, maybe there is a potential there to limit those as well. Yeah. So clarification there again. I can do this, but I can't do that exactly. So I guess that's something that I do as well, and I think many of us will recognize ourselves, or that will resonate with many people. Thank you, Atara, for sharing that. I like those ideas. So basically, I would say, many of us are reluctant to being firm, clear, and quick. We want to position this, we want to maintain this relationship, and we want to come across as nice people. So this is not an easy task. And of course, I would love to challenge you, as I always do in these short live streams. So this week's challenge would be the following. In which situations do you tend to say yes when you know you should have said no from the beginning? I'm sure there are certain types of requests that are typical to you as well, like it is to me. And then, as a second follow-up question from the coach, which saying no strategy will you test the next time? Would you be a bit more, I would say, clear and firm compared to me, or do you want to, I would say, expand on the in-between tactics? I would be really interested in learning if you have any, examples, or you want to share things that we can add on to my 7-point list. Maybe we can have a 10 or a 12-point list instead. I would love to see that. So thank you, Atara, for sharing. And I was just going to remind about the next live stream topic for next week. That will be in a slightly different space, but I hope it will be of interest to you. So the topic will be unlearning the downsides to procrastination. I meet a lot of people who feel bad about procrastination. And I do that sometimes as well, which is why I've decided to change my mindset a bit, change perspectives, and be an unlearner even in that space. And I would love to invite you to join me for that as well. So with that, I would like to end this session today. I hope you have enjoyed it and gotten maybe some ideas, some insights, maybe something you can test out and practice for yourself. And hope to see you next week again. Until then, live and unlearn. Take care. Bye.